Devstream. Get the Twitter sent out. Get our bot in here. And finally, get our Discord posted. Alright. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is June. Oh, you didn't mute. Alright. Try that again. Oh, I got interrupted. No, I lost my place. This is, oh man, it like completely threw off my game. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is June 25th. And this is the June 25th Text Quest Dev stream. So today, we are going to be working. Man, I need to adjust my layout a little bit too. Things are all kinds of weird spots. There we go. Today we're going to be working in the overworld, and we are going to be focusing on a couple of different things. But one of the things that we need to do is work with our. I need to really improve the woods area. Just say that right out. Um, I've been kind of ignoring that while I do a bunch of polish on the front end or on the first two levels. And because of that, the overworld has actually kind of suffered in the past couple of months. I just really haven't done a good job of updating it to work with our modern conventions. So, for example, the light dark manager stuff is set up for our plains, but it's not set up for our woods. Um, there are a couple of visual issues that I would like to iron out in the woods, and we're not going to get through all of them tonight, but I would like to do a couple of things, mainly get into the woods level, walk around, see how I feel, and try to do two main things. One, I want to get a sense of scale for everything, so that I know how it feels when walking around in there versus what you can see from the plains area and from the grove. And two, one of the things that I want to try to solve today is fog, because I have fog particles that are set up. I have global fog that's set up um, in the woods area, but it's not. They're not really working as well as I would like. And actually, I'm not entirely sure if the fog will even work right now. So before we do anything, we have to jump over to the. What's this? We're going to jump over to our woods, and I'm going to go ahead and here. And of course, there's nothing in this scene because there is nothing. It's all dynamically populated. So I am going to do a couple of things. One, I am going to come down to here. We have our woods layout. That's all fine. I'm going to go ahead and add a light dark manager to this because it needs it. And let's see here. So we're going to need some post-process effects. For now, are you really? Well, I guess it's not built in. So give me a second here. Let's see, post-process. I guess the best thing for this will be like dark volume. Oof. Alright, fine. Planes. One of these is going to have it. There we go. Alright, so I'm pretty much just going to duplicate this. We're going to call this woods. Profile, darkness, woods. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this in. So we're going to say our pure darkness volume. So we don't actually have any post-processing set up yet. So we're going to go ahead and say post-processing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and create. I wonder if it'll let me do that. Nope. No dice. Go figure. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to add a post-processing volume. This is going to be global to start. It's going to be in our post-processing layer. It will be this. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Then we're going to need to do a couple more. So this is going to be darkness, darkness. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and say darkness. Of course. Put that in there. Darkness, boom, priority, and all that's fine. They are global. Hold on. I need to jump back to the planes real quick, actually. I want to double check that I'm setting this up properly. I'm like 90% sure that I am. So these should be set to 0. Yes. Okay. And the global should be set to 1. All right. Just wanted to be sure. So I'm going to pop this in. So that's 1. So these are all global, but they just have a weight of 0. Okay. And now we should be able to just spawn into this. Well, we're going to run into it because we need the lantern out here. And this is going to be interesting because we have not come back to this. We haven't been back to this level in quite a while. Whoa. What is going on here? What? What are you talking about? Why did you throw no reference? We tested this before the stream. Well, well, well. Maybe that was a weird... Oh, come on. Stop playing and try this again. Oh my goodness, this is going to murder me. Get scene root object like Dark Manager, which is right here. So that checks out. Let's try this again. Yeah, there's just a weird... Oh, it's because it's not clearing. Never mind, that was a false alarm. I forgot that I have clear on play turned off, so that error is not actually there. That was from a previous playthrough. Alright, so I'm going to run over to my dark area over here. I also need to rebake the lighting in here, I think. It seems too dark to me, so I'm pretty sure that it's out of date. But it's weird because I wasn't seeing any warnings about that, so I'm not entirely sure why this is so dark. But at any rate, I need to redo this, probably this entire area in terms of modeling. Not the cabin, and actually the wheat field is pretty good. The main problem is mostly this ground area and specifically the trees in the mountain. Because in relation to this whole thing, it's not really giving me good lighting effects. If I actually clip inside of this, like you can see how awkward this is. That's like it's weird, and there's light bleeding in. So if I back up, you can see that it's kind of like you can see the line there from the light bleeding through. So that's not really great. So there are a couple of changes that I need. I was originally going to focus on this today, but I kind of want to do the wood stuff a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and here, and we're going to go to the woods. All right. Well, that doesn't seem right. My culling distance is too far. So this fog needs to be cranked up. Hold on. Let's see here. So we need to go to main camera. So we have our Fog is enabled. I want to turn that off. Yeah, I do want to. Okay, so I don't want to exclude Skybox. There we go. Yeah, that's much better. I was gonna say that's super weird. So one of the things you can see here is like we have a fog emitter right here. It's currently not attached to anything. It's just kind of there. Um, and one of the difficulties of this is that I want to. So I want to have this fog effect follow the player around, but the problem is that in order to get it to not look ridiculous, I would have to do one of two things. Well, actually, so here's what it would look like if I had just attached this fog emitter to the player. So it's going to be over here. I'm just going to go ahead and move this to like right here. I'm going to zero it out. Which apparently puts it way farther than I thought. So you can see that this demonstrates the issue. If I parent it directly to the player, we get this super weird kind of like localized fog because it's following the player. And I can change that by going to, where is it? Simulation Space World. If we can do that, you can see that the fog is following me, kind of. But one, it's pretty delayed because it's only supposed to spawn in so often, and often that gets left behind to where I was previously. And two, it really becomes a problem when this happens. There, you can see the fog popping as I move through. That's because I'm technically, well, not technically, I am jumping around. It looks seamless, but I am jumping around, which means that I need to probably do this with a post-processing effect, honestly, this fog. That's really the only way I can think to do this. And it kind of sucks that that's the case, but I really don't know any better way to do that. Let's go ahead and pause this. Where is, there it is. So we're going to go ahead and pause that. I'm actually curious what custom does. Make particle position simulate relative to a custom transfer. I wonder. Let's assign you. No, it's just making it local. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Why would custom seems to be exactly the same as a freaking local one? Weird. So that's one of the issues that I need to fix. Probably we're not going to be fixing that tonight, mostly because, well, I'm not entirely sure how to fix it. Oh, good. So you've been marked as just don't destroy on load forever. Oh, right. And you're also targeting me. So let's set you back to world. All right. So this is the ancient tree, and this is what I would like to be able to see from the plains area over there. So I wanted to get a sense of kind of how big it felt, and I mean it feels pretty big. So I feel like the tree line for the trees out in the plains are about as high as these trees. You know, they're tall, probably about 2 to 3 times the size as a normal person, but they're not monstrous. But this one is meant to be absurdly large. And because of that, it needs to have a proper sense of scale that you can see from outside the woods area. So let's go ahead and trying to remember which way to go. I think it's this way. Oh, look at that. We still have some problems here. Okay, well that's not great. You put me back at the beginning, didn't you? Oh, wow. Okay, so this is like completely borked. Oh no. Okay. So my woods algorithm is doing pretty poorly. Also, hello Garrett. Welcome back. As you can just see, it went pretty terribly, or it goes pretty terribly. Uh, Aside from that, though, it's not too bad. How are you doing? I really need to get this mic set up. Like my headset is somewhat busted, so the microphone keeps getting pushed away from my head, which makes it a little hard to consistently talk with. Well, to talk with consistent volume. Um, okay, so that is a bug. We gotta fix that. And I'm gonna run around in the woods a little bit more, and then we're gonna try to address that issue. Okay, so let's run back over there, grab our light. Okay, doing okay? That's pretty good. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's go ahead and let's deal with this. So we're gonna jump over to the plains real quick. I'm sorry, not plains. The woods. We're gonna open up the woods manager, and let's see. Where is our fog? We're gonna go to definition here. Go to definition here. I don't feel like that's correct. Oh, wait, hold on. Find all references. Second here, post process, get post process. Jump up here to prefabs, player, hero. We're gonna go down to if he has interaction menu controls. Okay, give me this main camera, all the sector stuff, screenshot, post process controller. There we are. Fog, main camera, fog effect. What? Fog effect. Ah, here we are. Let's edit the script real quick. So we're gonna say post processing, post processing. Okay, there we go. Dot fog dot exclude skybox is equal to false. And I guess we don't really care about this, honestly. I guess I could set that back to true by default. I don't really think I need that. My goodness, I cannot type today. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and let that go. Let's go ahead and comment some things real quick. Wrapper for enabling, disabling post processing fog. We're going to go ahead and call this post processing. Tooltip this real quick. Layer post processing layer for that will have its fog turned on and off. Okay, let's go ahead and compile that again real quick, and we're gonna jump back to the planes too. So, you're doing okay, Garrett? Just okay though. You're not doing average or middle of the road. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, it's compiling. So I'm gonna take a drink while that's happening. And then I am going to go ahead and go to planes, spawn points, player spawn points. I'm going to grab my test spawn. Just going to move this way down there so I don't have to keep freaking running over here. Okay, save, and let's try this again. Well, I suppose that okay is better than bad. You're managing to survive out in that California heat. Okay, so this is actually problematic. Woods spawn. Oh, okay. I should probably. I'm gonna run through here. Weather's been nice. Cool for this time of year, it seems. That's pretty good. It's actually just starting to get regularly warm here. So I think we're gonna have the same issue, right? Yeah, interesting. So I'm gonna run all the way up here. And I want to check and see if that despawned them. No. Okay, so my algorithm that I'm using for... What? What is happening? This should be the exit. But it's not. Okay. Cool, so we got a null reference there too. What are you doing? Awesome. Okay, so yeah, my code is just worked there. That's nice. It's nice to know. Cool. So I need to refactor that then. Well, that's going to be fun. So let's go ahead and jump over real quick to the woods again. I want to turn my spawn points to be in the dark. So both of them. I am quite curious to know if that will do anything. We're going to jump back to the plains area and play. It means less watering of the lawns. That's probably good. Gotta save that water. Gotta ration it. Although, again, it's diametrically opposed to what we've had here. The past 2 weeks, it seems it's been nothing but rain. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause real quick. We're gonna clear these consoles. Okay, good. So we do have darkness as an option. We are crouched. It's nice. Okay, keep running this way. Okay, so that to me implies yes, we do not have a given section. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and I'm going to do something that I'm going to hate, and I'm going to feel terrible doing this on the air, but I am going to have to review my code for this, because it is quite terrible, apparently. Oh man, I don't even want to... I forget if I set that up, actually. Let me test something real quick. I think... excuse me. I think I set it up so that you can't save if you're in the dark. Yeah. Okay, so as long as that's the case. That's good. As long as I just didn't want players to be able to like drop their lantern and then sprint away from it so that they can't possibly get back to it before they get eaten by Grus. Um, so if I type save, okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and stop playing. We're gonna jump back over to the woods real quick. All right, so I'm going to need to open up woods layout. Preview meshes. Let's say target collection. Man, of course, this is going to be a massive script. Let's see, get section position. Based on that, get section materials. That's all fine. Spawn sections. Player enters zone. So we want to peak definition here. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump down to here. Get collection. Excuse me. The absolute index of y minus I. That's in the visible area. Wow. Yep. This is terrible. Ooh, boy. Mm, mm, mm. Right. Right. Okay. So I believe if index.y minus I, the absolute value of that is less than the visible area, then that gives us our problems. Contains key would index is a vector 2. Yeah. Wow, I have such a better way of doing this now. Oh man, I really am mad at myself for redoing this again. I'm really gonna do that, aren't I? Well, clearly my current approach is not working well enough. Spawn wrap section. So spawn section versus spawn wrap section. Make sure that was in here. Section back wrap here. Oh, right. Wrap, but that should probably be called warp. Um, nice. What was the rewired bug you were running into? So for this, we need to be able to spawn the actual section we need to warp to, of course. I bought a foot switch that I use for push to talk now. Oh, cool. Oh, were you just trying to figure out what like button it was? Let's see here. So target index is a vector 2, I believe. Yeah. I could redo this so that instead of doing like manual vector 2 comparisons, I could actually put all of that into a single int. Um, oh, those were two unrelated statements then. Oh, okay. Uh, My bug was that Rewire wasn't recognizing my regular Xbox One gamepad. Huh. That's weird. Why wouldn't it recognize an Xbox One gamepad? Was it a matter of it being plugged in like after the fact? But I thought that's what Rewired handled. That's super weird. Okay, so make sure it hasn't been assigned already. Wrap section, get wall prefab, get clutter prefab. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Oh. I do wonder if there's any real reason for me to do that. I could probably simplify the woods layout a lot. I don't really think that I need cull everything like I'm doing. So basically, the reason that this system is so awkward um, is because I wanted to try and be fancy and not have those things be pre-baked. Well, and we don't need to do that. We're not gonna have them be baked in as like a standard level. But I was trying to cull out chunks that you couldn't see by just recycling them. But the problem with that is I'm not really sure. Man, I have been spending too much time down in the memory management mines at work. I've been doing a lot of addressable stuff at work, like addressable assets, Unity's new fancy workflow for requesting items or requesting assets. And now I'm super hyper aware of memory allocations. And I just realized I'm going to have to do a lot of cleanup whenever I leave areas, and I'm not doing that right now, which is problematic. Um, But anyway, getting back to my main point, which was I don't really necessarily need to despawn these things while I'm in the scene, because I could instead just, when you go into the woods, I could just have it spawn everything on the grid that it's supposed to take up, and then we don't even have to worry about um, doing anything like, getting rid of sections that the player is not in at any given time. We can just have them teleport around. So that's not too bad of a thing. Plus, that will let me get rid of system.link because I hate system.link. Let's see. The bug is that the foot switch was getting assigned to player 0 and not the Xbox. Oh, interesting. It registers that, or it registers itself as a joystick number 0 and Rewired sees it and only assigned that joystick. That's super weird. I had to change the max joysticks per player to 99. Okay, sure, why not? Um, huh. All right. So I'm trying to think about how I want to handle this now. Because the simplest thing is one, we're going to need, if we come up to here to woods info, which actually, let's go ahead and, man, I am not super sure how I want to handle that. Also, I just heard some popping in my speakers. I'm hoping that my headset didn't just freak out. Trying to think about how I'm going to set up menu cameras for this level. Um, since everything spawns in, it's kind of awkward, but maybe not too bad. So materials, environment descriptions, zones, all of that is kind of weird. So we need to basically take this level and make it dynamic. All right, fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of things. One, I'm going to go over here to Woods Manager. I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to come up to here. Find all references. I'm going to do some quick custom editor stuff to update this. And let's see, plain section is the entrance, plain spawn point. Grove section is the entrance. That's what chunk it's going to spawn in. Plain spawn coordinates, plain spawn offset, grove spawn coordinates, click distance. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change how this works, basically. I'm going to come up to here. Walls, clutter, sections, layout data. So let's go up to window, CPL software, text request, woods layout. Okay, so this is the woods layout. That's looking pretty good. If we look at this, it's kind of funny because it's not clipping properly, which is hilarious to me. That's really funny. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's hilarious. Let's see. So it's going over to target crossroad. Right. Itself. Wrapping. Crossroads. I guess that actually is worth preserving. Um, so because I have everything adjusted or set up by chunk, kind of like the section of the forest, it's more interesting for it to be done like this. Um, because this lets me string together theoretically any number of chunks that I want. Um, right. Here's our crossroads. Then we go back to here. Target trident. You can see that we have that. But at some point, for some reason, this gets things weird. I wonder if it's because it suddenly shortens everything up. That would actually make sense. Hmm. I apologize that I'm not being super talkative. I'm kind of just running through like five different things in my head at once for this. I'm trying to think about how I want to handle this. Because good God, I hate also working with tools that I made a long time ago. While I do like the concept, I could have done this so much more cleanly. Ugh. Okay, so here's the problem with this. I have a lot of, well, actually, yes, that does make sense. Okay, so if I'm going to do a theory here. So I think the woods layout by itself, that's the old one. Crossroads is what we were just, entrance is what I was looking for, and I just couldn't find it. Um, so this is a size of 11 by 15. We go to Crossroads, we're 11 by 17, which means that it's not smaller than the previous one. But if we go from entrance over to Trident, suddenly we're 10 by 11, both of which are smaller. And because of that, it can't recycle. And I'm going to put this as a guess, but this is 11, 12. Well, no. I might have been talking out my ass there then. Well, no, it's possible that it's still there actually. Let's see. Does this have walls at the bottom? Trees. Yes, it has trees at the bottom. Which makes sense then because around the time we get to Trident here, it freaks out at about 6.5, doesn't it? Which is not at all what I was thinking it would be freaking out at. So that means that it couldn't recycle positionally. Let's go back here to the crossroads real quick. That's hard to say. My assumption here is that it's just not clearing around here. It's possible that's the case. So Trident again is 10. There's only one shorter, so I wouldn't expect it to freak out here. This is the spot right here that it's we were getting that overlapping and the Z fighting. So okay. Sorry, I'm just constantly thinking through about this, and I don't know what I want to focus on, be it tooling or. Oh, right, I remember now. The reason that this shows up is because of overlay. Is that right? No, that's not correct, because if that were the case. Well, whatever. Okay, so. Crossroads 2.8. Let's go over here to Crossroads. Over here we have Trident 2x and 5y. Okay. And that seems to work, but around here, it fails to recycle. My theory for that, got the hiccups, is that it is basically trimmed down, so it doesn't know what to spawn in. It's very awkward. I'm not really sure what a good solution for that is. Maybe a dictionary of all these things. So currently, if we go over here to Woods Layout, yeah, that's what we want. We have a list of our wood sections divided up by vector 2. And what I'm guessing is happening here is that when we transition, we are not cleaning up all of the previous spawn points, or all of the previous spawned sections necessarily. So they don't get cleaned up properly because it doesn't quite know what to do with them, because they have an index out of range exception problem. So let's find all references here. There's going to be a lot of you. Do I want to just do that? I do apologize again for kind of mostly mean and hawing. Let me think. Would it be better to do it that way? No. Hmm. Okay. How about this? I am going to create a test scene. Although, real quick, I am going to push something off. Real quick, I am going to adjust my inspector for the woods real quick. Copy this. Okay. We're going to come down to here, draw woods info. And all we got to do is this. So we're just going to say editor GUI layout dot begin vertical editor styles dot help box editor GUI layout dot end vertical, and then we're just going to say editor GUI editor GUI dot indent level plus plus editor GUI dot indent level minus minus. Now we're going to say u dot is expanded is equal to editor GUI layout dot fold out, and then that dot is expanded followed by new GUI content woods info followed by true. And then all I got to do here is just say if u dot is expanded. Pretty straightforward. I don't really need you now, do I? Alright, pretty good there. So let's go ahead and come back here. So this should change its aesthetic to match the rest of this. I've kind of been quietly updating all of those as I work with my old code, kind of trying to bring everything into a more modern sensibility. So there are actually a couple of things that I need to handle here. One is my zones and environmental descriptions and menu cameras all have to be dynamic for this level, which is interesting because I've not had to do that before. So and they have to be dynamic because these things spawn in; they're not baked into the scene. So I would prefer not to have the menu cameras just be floating out in space. It would be much better if I could just kind of like set them up at a given. I guess I would have to do that anyway. Basically, set them up at a given spawn point or at a given section, and just say like when that section spawns in, position the camera here, here, and here. So that is something that probably will require a more custom editor to do. So basically, we would kind of make these things. So we'd still have these fields, but they would be not the actual original fields. They'd be like a custom one that we set up. But that's going to require a little bit of thinking about how I want to handle spawning that stuff in. Work on stuff too. Yeah, I figured. I just always feel kind of bad whenever I get into that hemming and hawing state. Because more often than not, it's me kind of thinking silently for like 2 minutes, not really doing anything. Because I also tend not to be able to work while I'm thinking about what I want to do. Okay. Oh, interesting. My post-process volumes are not assigned yet. I thought I did. Okay, lit darkness. We're going to go ahead and put you in there. Let's go ahead and hit save here. So, right. Couple of things. One, let's go up to here. Two, I want to. Wrong thing. Woods manager. Tooltips on these. Let's see. Clip distance is what? Distance to set the camera clipping planes. Distance to? Plane distance to. Wow. There we go. Terrible. I don't think I'm going to need these after I do a refactor. Spawn points are, well, they're what they are. Layout is equal to null there. So there are a couple of things that I need to redo here. One of them is actually I need to redo the Grove area a little bit. I just thought of a pretty good level editing or level solution to that. Okay, so real quick, I'm actually going to jump over to the Grove. Should it so choose, should it deign to give me what I want. Alright. Yeah, you gotta be redone too. These trees are too thin. Cool. Alright. So that's that. Okay, so I just wanted to review that scene real quick for something else. Alright, if I'm going to redo this system, I don't need to redo the actual data. I think that's pretty good right now. Or at the very least, I could probably make do with it. The question more or less becomes, how do I handle this? It's the row data. So this actually doesn't need to change, this woods layout collection. It can kind of remain as is. I suppose I should probably add some like tooltips or something. Unique ID for the section. Size of section. I will say the width and height of the section. Okay. So the actual data class does not need to change any, but my approach for spawning everything probably will. I think it will make more sense to have a flattened array that I then spawn everything into. And then I recycle that whenever you transition to a different section. So basically, instead of kind of dynamically spawning and despawning sections as you move, what I'll do is I'm going to when you enter a particular section like the entrance section or the crossroads section, I'm going to despawn everything from the previous section if there was one, and then we're going to spawn everything in for the next section. And doing that will, oh man, complicate things so much more. Because now you can save wherever you want, which was not a thing when I did this level. Oh boy, that's not great. That's really not great. Ho ho ho. Okay. Uh, yeah, that complicates things so much. So right. So that strategy I think still works overall. So we'll despawn everything from the previous section whenever you transition sections. and spawn everything in for the next section when you're making that transition. The only concern that I have there is that we might have a frame stutter. So I'm gonna jump over to a test scene real quick. I suppose I can just go ahead and make that a new test scene. And we're just going to make a class here. All right. So we're going to go ahead and say create C# script. And it's going to be Woods Layout Manager. Let's open that up. Should it choose to do so? Okay, we're going to make this a text request. We're going to need public Woods Layout Collection. Yeah, I guess. Layout, or we'll just call this sections. Sections is equal to new, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then let's do a couple of other quick things. So we're going to say, what was it, layout ID? Public that start section is equal to dot none. Okay. And what we're going to want to do is we need to listen to all of the areas that get spawned in. Let's go ahead and go to Woods Layout. I am pretty sure clutter sections. Yeah, okay. Find all references. Get section materials. What is this actually? Why did I do that? You're just gonna make things terrible. Get section materials, section first or default, get preview children. Right, right. So the individual sections, I think, have the IDs that they are associated with. Yes. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and say find all references to the sections again. Let's see. Get sections first or default. Request. Here we are. So for this, when we spawn a section, I'm assuming I listen to it. Bottom side, element right side, clutter, collection, wrapping. Yes, here we are. Section dot forward wrapping collection. Equals the element. This is the Woods layout element. That's interesting. Where's the element here? Right. Right, because that gets us our data, which is just a little awkward, but yes. Come down to here, and we're gonna wrap all that. There should be. Okay. On player enter and on player exit. There we are. So for on player enter, all we would need to know. Well, actually, for on player exit, we would need to know. We would need to listen for when the player leaves an area so that we can despawn everything. So let's go ahead and try this. Private void start. We're just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than sections. Oh, geez. Right. Well, first, before we do that, I should probably say woods layout collection call is equal to. I'm just going to do a bunch of crappy, quick prototyping code. Is equal to null, and we're going to say for int I equals 0. I is less than sections dot length I plus plus sections of I dot ID is equal to start section, because I don't know how to type if statements apparently. If that is the case, then we're going to go ahead and break out, and we're going to say cull, not cull, cull is equal to sections of I. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of this and say less than sections. Section, sorry, just cull dot size dot x I plus plus. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and say. So here's where it gets to be what I was talking about. It makes more sense to go from top to bottom, left to right, I suppose, than left to right, top to bottom. So we're going to go ahead and do this in a slightly more sensible way. So we're going to say cull size dot y for that, and then for int j equals 0, j is less than cull dot size dot x, j plus plus. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and say we're going to need a list. So I'm going to come up here and say using system.collections.generic. We're going to need private list woods. What was it? Woods section, I think. It's like wood. Yeah, wood section. Spawned sections is equal to no, or well, is equal to new list wood section. So that's our spawn section. Do I really need to care about their positioning now? Not exactly. After the initial spawning, I don't think I would. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay. I do not recall if my, let's go up to prefabs here. Environment levels, overworld. Cool, so you're somewhere else. I don't recall if the pivot for my sections is in the middle or bottom left, or one of the corners. So let's go ahead and say like, what did I call it? Like, oh, geez. Try. Let's see if we can get something there. Yes, path T right. Dang it, that's almost right. So for path T, let's see, section whatever. Any of these is fine. If I just drop this. Okay, cool. Cool. So yes, I did do it at the bottom left, which is good. Okay. So now we can go ahead and come back to here. So if it's bottom left, that probably means I should actually spawn from the whatever. It's fine. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. We are going to say spawn sections. I don't know about that. I suppose it should be handled like this instead. Dictionary of int and that is equal to a new dictionary, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so for this, we're going to go ahead and say, before we do anything, I'm just going to call spawn sections.clear, and then we're just going to go ahead and say, for this, list sections. We're running out of words for sections. So this is the wood section. Chunks is equal to new. List that. And at the very bottom here, we're going to go ahead and say nothing yet because this is actually going to go up here. So at the end here, we're just going to say spawn sections dot add, and then we're going to say start section followed by chunks. Cast that to an int. Might as well. It's a little bit more efficient if I remember correctly. And now we just need to spawn everything. So for this, we're going to go ahead and say we're going to say woods section section is equal to pool manager. Right, we gotta come up here. We're gonna say using sleepyowl.common. So pool manager dot request, and then col dot get. Oh man, no. How was I doing that before, actually? Sections first default. Right. Okay. So we're going to come up to here. And I'm going to need a couple of things. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. We're going to say, why are you mad? Oh, that's why. Then we're going to go ahead and come up to here. We're going to say, of course, I'm going to refactor this to call it like section data, whatever. Now we're going to go up to here. We're going to say public woods section prefabs is equal to new. Okay. And then I'm going to come over to here. Section is equal to pool manager dot request, which actually I can't do anything with that yet. I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to say private woods section get section, and then we'll say, what are you? I always forget what you're called. Woods section ID. Okay, so this is going to be get section prefab. We're just going to say return null at the end here. Otherwise, we're going to go for int I equals 0. I is less than section prefabs dot length I plus plus Hello, Scorpio. Welcome back. Also, sorry, Garrett, I was kind of off thinking. Getting anything on the Steam sale? I have not looked at the Steam sale yet. I saw that it was going on, but I haven't had a chance to look at it. So maybe I did hear that the Tales series is like 50% off, and I'm kind of thinking about maybe picking up Tales of Vesperia, just because. I mean, I like the Tales games, and I have not played Tales of Vesperia because it was on Xbox 360 exclusively here in the U.S. Of course, they released it for PS3 over in Japan, but the West was just like, fuck you. So I never got a chance to play that game, and I've heard it's very good. So I might end up picking that up. Are you all thinking of picking anything up? So we're gonna go ahead and say, let's see. So section prefabs, we're just gonna say if section prefabs of I dot ID is equal to ID, we'll return section prefabs of I. All right. So all we're gonna do here is say pool manager dot request. I really want to go through and redo all of my prefabs so that they're spawning from the top left. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm just going to brute force this. Um, oh, you don't have to be so savage about it. Oh, that cut deep. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say wood section equals pool manager dot request, and then we'll say get section prefab. And this is where we're going to do blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to go ahead and say col dot get element, and then we're going to say a j and I. Oh, right, hold on. New vector 2 j and I. Oh man, this predates vector 2 ints. That's how bad. That's how old this is. So we're gonna go ahead and say woods layout element. Woods layout element is equal to that. And by the way, Scorpio, we are working on woods layout stuff because the woods level is a little rough right now. I've been ignoring it for a while, and some of the level changes that we've done, or some of the changes we've made to our level managers, did not get made to the woods layout level, and we need to also update how the layout is being done because it currently does not despawn things properly. And I think it's just going to be easier to kind of do a quick and dirty, not a quick and dirty, but like a faster, more efficient way of doing this rather than me trying to salvage that code because I know better ways to do this now. So we're going to go ahead and say element dot ID, I believe. Yep, that's all we need. And then our position. Oops, wrong thing. We're gonna have a parent. Well, should I have a parent? Okay, we'll go ahead and have a parent here. We'll just parent it to this for now. So we're going to go ahead and say transform as the parent, and then our position is going to be. Okay, so we're going from the top left to the bottom right, which means that we need to position everything accordingly, which means we're going to have to offset forward quite a bit. So we're going to need to say new vector 3 that, and then I'm just going to go ahead and say quaternion dot identity. Okay, so this is going to be local to the object. So I believe our size is 10 by 10. So 10 units by 10 units, which is about 10 meters. Is that right? That seems too big. Let's go ahead and dump this. Come over to here real quick. Seems incorrect for that to be the size. 5 seems more reasonable. Yeah, that's going to be awkward. Okay. And of course it compiled. If you think the woods is rough, you should see the lava levels. Well, that's not wrong either. Those lava levels are pretty old by now, and I am 90% sure I'm going to redo it because I have a problem. We're going to go ahead and make this 1. Done. So 1. Oh, right, you're not on. So 1, 2. Whatever. So 1. You've got to be hitting me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, I was right. It's 10. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and come over to here, and we are going to say, in the x-axis, we want to be offset. This is going to be j times 10 f, followed by nothing in the y, 0f, and then I times 10f. I believe that's what we want. That handles our offsets. And that's pretty much all we need to do to get everything spawning in. So we're going to go ahead and say spawn chunks dot add section. Okay. And here is where things do get a little wonky. I need to say section.wrapping and all that. For now, this is actually enough for me to test this by just spawning everything. Let's go ahead and spawn that all in, or let it compile. Okay. And what we're going to do here is basically that chunk of code that I just wrote should flood fill the entirety of whatever section we give it. So let's go ahead and create a new object real quick. I am just going to assign it. Where are my scripts? Here we are. Okay, start section. We're just going to make that entrance, I guess. Section prefabs. We're just going to go ahead and lock this. I'm not going to worry about clutter right now. I just want to do the layouts. So we're going to go ahead and grab all of this. Just select what we don't need. Okay. I'm just going to drag this. Boom. 42. I believe that is correct. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that go. Hit save. Whatever. We'll just be, I hit save. I hit Control A and S at the same time, so I'm wondering if that freaked it out. Section data. We're going to go ahead and just add one for this, and it is going to be our entrance. Okay, so I'm going to turn you off. Say done. We're going to close this. So in theory, when I hit play, this should spawn everything. It won't spawn the set dressing, but it'll spawn that. Nope. It did not. It spawned things in the wrong way. That's interesting, and I bet it's because I did it wrong. Yes, because things are. It's like everything's backwards, which is great. Let's see. Do you tell me? No, of course not. Wrapping behavior. Okay. So interesting. What are you? Bottom to top left. So that's correct. But I did this in reverse then, so I need to change this. So I think I need that to be the case. That does not seem right, but perhaps it is. Because I think the correct parts are spawning in. I think they're just facing the wrong way. Because I mean, they definitely are spawning in the right parts because it's matching the old IDs. I just need to double check which direction is forward. If it will let me. Okay. So we basically want everything should spawn in theory this way. Oh, right. Yeah, that's what the problem was. Okay, so I need to do this. I need to say col dot size dot y minus I times 10. That should fix the problem. Because the problem was I was going left to right and then bottom to top with the way I was spawning, but I need to go left to right, top to bottom. So that explains why everything looked wrong, because they were positioned incorrectly in reverse order. All right, let's go ahead and play that. pause. Like this. Cool. So you can see that that spawned everything in. It is in the correct position. Everything is in the correct order. This should be the first one on top left there. Yep. Okay. So, although it's marked as static, which means that I can't move it, even though it's totally something that gets spawned in. But I guess that's fine. So, we do have that spawning in now. So I think the next step here is going to be um, setting up the warping, getting all the wrapping and such to work, and then spawning in the next section when you warp over to it. So I'm going to real quick, because that's the main test here. We want to say section dot. Oh man, there's so much here. I'm just gonna be a little cheap and come over here. We don't care about clutter or walls. All we care about is the wrapping. And that's all I care about. So let's go ahead and come over to here. Come over to here. So layout index is going to be equal to new vector 2 j and I. Okay, element, all of this stuff is set up correctly. So in theory, if we go ahead and drop this in, I'm going to just going to put the player in here, I guess. Except it compiled as I was scrolling. So doing it this way is going to be a little less efficient, but it really doesn't matter too much because I'm already setting the camera clip planes to something absurdly low, like 50 meters, I think, which is way shorter than the normal culling distance. So I'm going to go up to here, player. I'm just going to plop the hero down here. Let's go ahead and hit play. I should not have maximized on play, but I will survive. I believe it's actually going to like launch me into the air. Oop, nope, it did neither of those things. I need to actually get rid of this main camera. Should it choose to let me do so. And then I need to grab you, and you are just way out in the middle of nowhere for some reason. Just be in here. This is very awkward because I have no idea where I am. Holy crap, I fell so far in that very brief amount of time. Alright. Oh, come on. Really? Fine. So you're going to make me do that. I hate it when it doesn't properly spawn the. Well, when I try to use the hero prefab outside of levels with level managers, it gets kind of wonky. And I'm not actually sure why it positioned me here. Like, I don't understand how that's 000 when this is also 000. Okay. Maybe I just moved everything way too far up. Whatever. So now I can just kind of slide this. Put it like, oh, nope, that's not what I wanted to do at all. I'm going to collapse you. Grab the hero. Move this forward. So currently, in theory, I should be able to run over here and it'll just constantly wrap. Yes. It looks jarring because we don't have the fog turned on, but that's fine. Cool. So we do have wrapping working. then we are going to come over to here, at which point this will freak out. Yes, it will. Nice. Oh, interesting. What did you freak out about there? Right warp target. Ah, that's what. I have not. Sorry, I was. This last week has been pretty crazy for me. What did you set up? I am curious. Let's see here. It's been so long since I have. Da, 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 da. Let's see. Let's see. Some guy who runs this. The only important one? That is far from true. Uh, that is pretty fun though. Thank you again for getting that taken care of, Scorpio. Um, I really need to sit down and think through how I want to do content updates. And I've been thinking about trying to do like a short form video once a month would be good. And then ideally it would be nice to have like at bare minimum screenshots a couple of times a week. Um, once a week is kind of what I try to do nowadays with Screenshot Saturdays. But it would be good to have regular content updates. Otherwise, it's not really going to be very engaging, I feel. Um, One of the things that I really do want to do is I want to get the custom adventure stuff done so that I can kind of just not really shove that out the door, but kind of release that as a fun thing for the community to mess around with and see if people like using that tool. Um, and if I can get that to function, that will give the community something to do while I'm working on the game proper. But we'll see if I can actually make that a functioning thing. Okay, so the right wrap target. This gets us a little difficult to deal with. Let's go to Woods Layout Manager. Forward wrapping. Forward wrap chord. Collection. Right. Right. On player exit. Right wrapping is equal to target. Dot layout index. Right wrap target. Where are you getting set? Go to definition. So you're just set. Find all references. Wrap target. Right, I have to spawn the individual sections. Right. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to think through how I want to handle this system because the old way of doing it was not accurate. Clearly, um, just because we have those glitches and those overlaps, which means that my algorithm for spawning and despawning is unsatisfactory. I do think that I figured out what it was in the sense that it is likely related to the dictionary of spawn sections shrinking from section to section. And if you get to a section with less than the previous one, I don't think it cleans up properly. Um, and even more importantly, I think that it might not clean up properly at all anyway, and we just happen to get lucky in the first two sections. So I need to change how spawning is managed here. I do like how my level editing tool works, but I'm not a fan of how I handled wrapping. Um, so we're gonna have to deal with that. But I'm gonna have to think about how I want to do that off air because it's gonna probably continue for most of tonight. Just me going. How about this? No, not that. How about this? Maybe it's sounding more. No. We could do better than that. So we might end the stream a little early today. I'm gonna end it here. Um, I I have some ideas. I'll have to figure out which one I want to actually do and how much of my existing system I can salvage. Because, like I said, I do like the level editing tool that I set up. That seems to work pretty well. I could probably handle a few updates to it just to make it a little bit easier to use. But the spawning is where things seem to be falling apart a bit. And I just need to come up with a better way of spawning, honestly. So, I think that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. Um, Announcements. I don't think we have any announcements for the immediate week, so we should be good to stream on Thursday at our usual time. And we should be back to streaming on Saturdays after the weird 2 week Sunday hiatus, kind of. Um, so yeah, so the rest of our week's streaming schedule. Sorry, I'm tired. Should be pretty solid, so we should be good to go there. And that's about it. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.